Most people think anger just happens, that someone says something, does something, looks at them the wrong way, and suddenly they're angry. That's a lie. Anger is not automatic. It's not inevitable. And it's definitely not power. Anger is a reaction you were trained into. And today, you're going to unlearn it. Because the most dangerous people in history, the most composed, the most respected, the most untouchable, were not calm because life was easy. They were calm because nothing external was allowed to control them. And once you understand this, you don't just stop getting angry. You become unreachable. Stay with me. This will change how you move through the world. The first illusion. They made me angry. Let's kill the biggest lie first. No one can make you angry. Not your boss, not your partner, not your family, not strangers, not disrespect. If someone could make you angry, they would also be able to make you calm, confident, or fearless. They can't. What actually happens is this. Something external presses a button, and an internal mechanism reacts. Meaning, the problem is not the person. The problem is the button, and buttons are installed by childhood conditioning, by ego, by insecurity, by the need to be respected, by the need to be right, by the need to be seen. Anger is simply the emotion that shows up when your identity feels threatened. So if you want to never be angry again, you don't suppress emotion. You remove the fragile identity. Why, anger is always a loss. Here's something most people never realize. Anger never increases your leverage. Not once. When you get angry, you reveal what hurts you, what controls you, where you're weak, where you're emotionally predictable. The calm person in the room is always the one with power, because power is optionality. And anger removes options. It narrows your vision. It speeds up your speech. It makes you reactive instead of strategic. That's why manipulators provoke you. That's why narcissists poke you. That's why weak people try to offend. They are searching for emotional access. And most people give it to them for free. The real reason people bother you. Here's a brutal truth. If someone bothers you, it's because on some level you care about their judgment, even if you say you don't. Even if you tell yourself you don't. Emotion doesn't lie. Annoyance is attachment. Anger is attachment. Offense is attachment. To expectations, to validation, to how things should be. The moment you expect people to be reasonable, respectful, intelligent, or fair, you give them control. Because now reality can disappoint you. The people who are never bothered expect nothing. They observe. The observer position. This is the shift. Most people live inside situations. They are emotionally merged with what's happening. The unbothered person stands above the situation. They watch. They don't ask, why is this happening to me? They ask, what does this reveal? Every interaction becomes information, not an insult, not an attack, not a threat, just data. And data doesn't hurt. Why silence is the ultimate weapon. You don't need to respond to everything. Read that again. You don't need to explain yourself. You don't need to defend yourself. You don't need to correct people. You don't need to react. Most people talk to discharge emotion. Powerful people stay silent to preserve leverage. Silence does three things. It denies emotional reward. It forces the other person to fill the gap. It reveals their intentions. That's why silence feels uncomfortable to insecure people. They need reaction to feel relevant. When you don't react, you don't just stay calm. You destabilize them. The emotional economy. Here's a rule. Your emotional energy is currency. Every reaction is a payment. When you get angry at someone small, you overpay. When you get bothered by nonsense, you signal scarcity. The people who are never angry are selective spenders. They don't waste emotional energy on people who don't matter. Situations that don't move the needle. Opinions that don't affect outcomes. They are not indifferent. They are precise. How to instantly diffuse anger. When you feel anger rising, do this. Pause. Ask one question. Does this change my future? If the answer is no, your anger is theatrics. If the answer is yes, anger still doesn't help. Action does. Anger is never required. Clarity is. Why taking things personally is weakness. Nothing is personal. People act based on their incentives, their fears, their limitations, their unresolved trauma. Their behavior says nothing about you and everything about them. The moment you take things personally, you misread reality. You turn observation into ego. And ego is fragile. Strong people don't personalize, they contextualize. The moment you become untouchable, there is a moment, and you will feel it, when insults stop landing, when disrespect feels irrelevant, when chaos doesn't reach you, when noise fades, not because the world changed, but because you did. You stop needing approval, recognition, agreement, validation. And when there is nothing to attack, nothing can hurt you. That's invincibility. Why most people will never reach this state. Because anger feels justified. Because reaction feels natural. Because ego feels important. Most people would rather be right than be free. They would rather react than observe. They would rather feel than think. That's why they stay predictable. The final shift. You don't control others. You control access. Access to your attention. Access to your emotion. Access to your inner state. Once you understand this, peace becomes automatic. Not forced, not fake, not fragile, stable. If this video resonated, it's because part of you already knew this. You didn't learn something new. You remembered something ancient. And if you're still here listening, it's not an accident. People don't land on DominvsMind by chance. They arrive when they're ready. On this channel, we don't teach motivation. We teach control. We don't hype emotion. We remove it. So subscribe, not because you should, but because once you see these mechanisms, you can't unsee them. And this is only the beginning.